Hey everybody, what's today? Tuesday. If you're not familiar with who I am, my name's Jillian McMullen. I am a dietitian and an entrepreneur and a mom, and I blog at jillianmcmullen.com. And today I'm going to start a series that's probably going to be over the next several weeks on why weight loss is hard, and I'm going to start today with just some first steps on what you can start doing to gain control over it. And as the days go on, I'm going to give you a little bit more and more tips and things that you can do to get a little bit more insight. Hey Lindsay, Peggy, thanks for coming on. So I'm going to get right into it, and this is kind of a continuation if you saw my post from this morning, and give you a little bit more detail because I know I left a lot of you hanging with what I posted there. And this is something that I think is so needed, and so many people just don't understand in the world of weight loss. And it's the physiology behind it. So the thing is that when people, which is pretty much almost everybody in at least the U.S., but really it's in other countries too, is the thought process, and 70% of America is struggling with their weight, and that's just a fact. But the thought process behind it is that if you just eat less and exercise more, and have enough willpower, you should be able to pick a goal weight and get there. And if you are struggling with your weight, you're living the fact that it's not that easy. And I hear it over and over and over and over again from people that are just not understanding that I'm successful in my career, I'm successful in maybe my parenting, I'm successful in all of these things, and I don't understand why I'm not successful in this one thing, this in my weight. And it always seems so simple to people where they don't understand. I'm exercising more, I am eating less, I'm eating right, I'm on this diet, and it's not getting me to where I want to go. I've lost a certain amount of weight, and here I go again. I've lost the typical 15 pounds I always lose, and now I'm stuck, or yo-yoing back over. And this is the problem is that our bodies were never ever designed to lose weight successfully. And if you think about physiology and think about, let's go back 50 years. Let's go back thousands of years, back to times where the whole weight issue was never ever a problem. So when there was actually something called famine, there was actually something called food shortages. And this is still a problem in other countries. It's just not a problem where we are, where you might wake up one day and you don't have food available. People didn't starve to death in a couple of days. It took time because our bodies are really good at adapting to those certain situations. If we don't eat, our metabolisms are going to slow down to preserve energy. And if we don't eat enough, our bodies are going to slow down to preserve energy as well. Well, the same thing is going to happen if you start losing weight. Usually when that happens is around a 5 to 10% weight loss. So do the math. If you weigh, just an easy number, if you weigh 200 pounds, once you lose 20 pounds at 10%, that's when your body's going to start alerting itself to the fact that something's not right. Even though the 200 pounds may have not been a healthy weight for you, your body's still designed to start putting in some protective mechanisms at the 10% weight range. Maybe, somewhere between the 5 and 10%. So maybe you've lost between 10 and 20 pounds. Somewhere in that range, things are not going to be so easy for you to lose weight. So your metabolism's going to slow down, and your hormones are also going to start working against you. So you're going to start feeling hungrier because that hormone called ghrelin is going to increase in production, and it's going to be harder for you to feel full. So the hormone called leptin that signals to your brain to say, hey, you've had enough to eat, you don't need to keep eating, is not going to be in production as well, because your body is trying to tell you eat more, This isn't natural. This isn't supposed to happen. So you need to gain that weight back. And so you struggle and struggle and struggle with an increased hunger, increased appetite, and a slower metabolism. And this is why people yo-yo diet, because they're starving and their metabolism is now tanked. And usually you don't stand a chance to maintain that weight off. And so you gain it all back at lightning speed. A lot of times the weight brings some friends along. And so you end the whole thing with a slower metabolism than you did to start with. And this is how people live their lives for years. And that's the first thing to really have in mind, knowing to go into it, that this is what's happening. And this is not something I'm just making up. This is not a theory that experts or doctors have come up with. This is something that has been tested in research. This is blood tests that have been done. And the unpopular, unfortunate fact is that even after 2 years, the blood tests done on these hormone levels were still totally out of whack in people who have lost weight successfully. Their hunger hormones were still very much so unusual, out of whack than the normal person who's never lost weight. And we don't know beyond that, because unfortunately there's not people who have kept their weight off without other drastic measures long enough to know. And I know you don't want to hear that from me, but I'm here to tell you the truth. So the first thing is, for an action step for you to think about, is realistic weight loss expectations. Knowing what is it that you're really trying to reach. And how you determine that for yourself is, number one, is think about your weight history. Think about in your adulthood life, and depending on your age. So if you are in your 50s, I wouldn't go back to your 21 years old and looking at how much you weighed then. But what is the lowest weight that you've ever been as an adult, and been able to maintain realistically without being on some sort of a crash diet? So if you went on this major crash diet and you got to a weight and you maintained it for 2 seconds before you started gaining it all back, that's not a realistic weight loss goal. So think about, what is the lowest weight you've been able to maintain on your own without killing yourself at the gym and without doing an 800-calorie diet every day. That's kind of a first way to think about it. Another way is, if you lost 10% of your weight, what would that be? And kind of look at those two numbers and start gauging it. Now, I know for most of you watching this or watching the replay, that may not be where you want to be. That might not be your goal. And we're going to talk more about this in the coming weeks. But this is your starting place to start getting you to think more realistically. Many times people will come to me and their initial starting goal is something they've never weighed in their life, something the last time they weighed it, they were in high school. They might look at the BMI charts and want to know what they should weigh. And those charts are just not something to go by. The BMI charts, basically the ratio of your height to your weight, that's something doctors look at to see maybe if you're a candidate for certain ways to lose weight. But other than that, it's never something that a medical professional should be looking at to determine where you should be aiming for. That's not a goal weight guide for you. That's just something to look at where you stand, but other than that, it's not a great tool. So think about, what's the lowest weight you've ever been as an adult, and what would you be if you lost 10% of your weight today, and kind of look at those two numbers and start analyzing what would be realistic for you with living a normal lifestyle as well. That's kind of a first thing to look at. Another thing, though, that you want to take into factoring, and this is something that if you haven't been to the doctor in a long time, I would suggest you do that, because your medical history, there might be something in there that you don't know. And a lot of times things can be discovered, and that's what's holding you back. If you do go to the doctor and you're on medications, sometimes a medication, there are a lot of medications that cause weight gain. And it could be, if you've just got 10 pounds to lose, 20 pounds to lose, something that's not a drastic amount, a medication might be what's holding you up. And there's a lot of options for medications that could be the problem. And it could be a simple fix and the weight comes off. So that's another thing to consider. Don't stop taking a medication on your own because you think that's the culprit. Talk to your doctor, because a lot of times I've talked to a lot of people who think that they're stuck on this one medication and that's what's caused their weight gain. And really all they had to do was change it, and things got a lot easier for them. So that's another thing to look at as well. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of starting points, but know that if it was easy enough to say, I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and just start a good exercise regimen, find that perfect diet, then you probably would see a lot of people successful at weight loss, and we probably wouldn't see that many people who struggled with their weight, if any at all, because it would be very easy. And I don't think that there's probably any of you that will watch this today and pinpoint the day that you woke up and said, today's the day I'm going to start gaining weight and struggle for the rest of my life. Because it's not a lifestyle choice. And I can say that with 100% confidence because I've just worked with so many people that never decided that they were going to start struggling with their weight. It was never just a lifestyle choice. And that is one thing that I want you to remember, because there's too many people who have that opinion, and it's people who struggle with their weight, and it's people who don't struggle with their weight. And that opinion will never help you be successful. It's not a lifestyle choice. There are things that you can do to be successful, and I've seen a lot of people be successful. Debbie, you're on here. You're one of those people being successful as we speak. But you have to realize that it's not just wake up one day and change your lifestyle, and just like that, you're going to do it. There's a lot more that goes into it, and that's what we're going to talk about in the next several weeks. So hopefully you found these things helpful, and certainly feel free to reach out to me or go to my blog. It's just my name, JillianMcMullen.com, if you want more information. And I will talk to you guys probably tomorrow.